There's only one review of the rings. There's only one that can bring the fan base to its will, and we do not share power. Welcome back to Review of the Rings. We're here reviewing episode 7, which is the penultimate episode of season 1 of The Rings of Power, or to give it its full title, The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. I'm Cam, this is Kyle. We're back again. As always, if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit us a like and a subscribe. It really does help the channel out. It helps us to grow, provide more content, etc., etc. If you're listening to us on podcast, all our stuff's available on podcast as well, wherever you get your podcasts from. You will find us on there, and please just follow us on there as well. Contact myself and Kel through it. If you're watching YouTube, our details are on screen if you want to contact us about anything at all. And if you're on podcast, it's all in the details below as well. As is our Discord channel, if you want to chat to us on there about anything. We have a Discord which you can jump on and just chat to all the people that work for GenreVerse podcast network, and also lrmonline.com, which is where you should go to check out all your news, written reviews, all that sort of stuff. Anyway, we're here.
That's like a closing set of plugs, man. You got it all. As I tried to do my best Silent Bob impression there. Great job, Cam.
Yeah, usually I just leave that bit to Kyle. I don't know where it came from today. I must be inspired.
Finally rubbing off on you. Finally rubbing off on you guys.
It only took hundreds and hundreds of podcasts.
Oh my God.
I mean, how many videos have we done together at this point? I can't even begin to put a number to it at this point.
No, a lot.
A lot.
Well, there'll be, if all goes well,
I talk to you
today,
more than I talk to my wife.
Isn't that like every husband's dream, though? I mean, if all goes well today, we will have put up 16 videos in a week covering anything and everything you guys could possibly imagine.
So many different things that have been happening. But we are here to focus on the Rings of Power.
Yes.
So we're just going to get straight into it. We always do non-spoiler reactions and grades first, and then we will give a warning when we start getting into spoiler content. That'll all be in the tags when you're watching this on YouTube anyway, if you want to skip straight to like the spoiler section or avoid it. Yep. So Kyle, non-spoiler reactions and grades for episode 7, please.
So there are a few minor hiccups in here, which again I think you can attribute to and this is all I'll say this because Cam has already known that he felt this was meh, and I know that I feel differently. So I don't know if that goes into lore or not for those that might be watching this the first time. I know the books well enough. Last time I read the full trilogy of Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit was middle school, but it wasn't like flipping through. I had Miss Trawick was obsessed with this franchise, if you will, these books. So no, we lived and breathed Middle Earth there in middle school. But and then the movies, of course, which the most recent watch was late last year. Actually, we watched the extended cuts late last year. I don't think Christine had ever seen them before, so
no,
I don't know if there's a lore issue or not. But other than some choices in rough editing and imagery of, say, someone that was really sick and we're wondering if they can even ride a horse, and then they just walk out like it's like I got hurt the other day, I'm fine, and ride off. That was kind of meh. Actually, that was just bad. That was bad choicing. Almost makes you feel like maybe some scenes were written differently, and that they kind of just edited something together to get it out the door. And then some of the Harfoot stuff as well was kind of wonky. But I think again it's just because of not dedicating the right amount of time to it. Not that there necessarily needed to be more, but more of certain stuff, less of other stuff. Lingering on some things for too long could have given you 20 seconds to make another scene feel more fleshed out. But the Galadriel stuff with Theo really peak for me, as far as a war-weary soldier speaking to someone with a bit of bloodthirst and spitting some hard facts that only come from having been at war and seeing how awful it is, and even touching on the fact that she's where she can't follow her own advice. So being a
that's
veteran,
definitely a key part of the story and her arc, is that she keeps giving people advice, but she doesn't seem to follow it herself.
And being a vet myself, a war vet at that, I did Iraq once, Afghanistan twice. I can relate with that a lot, and I can respect both aspects of that, of being able to be like, this is not what you want, and yet this is what I'm going to do, so I really appreciated that. And then the stuff with Durin and Elrond is always a joy to watch. I really thought the end of that episode with Durin and his wife would go in a direction we'll talk about in spoilers if I can remember. But I did. I loved all of that. So all in all, for me, this was a really good, solid episode. Again, this was getting back into that like episode 3 and 4 range for me, I think, if I remember correctly. So I think I would give this a good A- in my opinion. And again, I'm a little biased because they tickled my old war mind. So
yeah, I can get that. And I don't really have any issues with the Galadriel and Theo stuff myself. I guess where my issues come in is if I talk specifically about the Southlands story this week, without getting into spoilers yet, I thought it was just a bit choppy in terms of the geography of it all. So last week we've mentioned
that like the last two episodes.
I feel like they're all together in this one. It's quite a small village that we're in at this point in the previous episode, so we're not talking spoilers here, guys. And there's a volcanic eruption and it comes in and everybody's trying to flee. When we start this episode, they seem to all be split up and can't find each other, and it kind of felt like to me almost a kind of convenience to, well, we want this character to be with this character needs to have them split up from each other but not within earshot. And the fact that at one point there's orcs back patrolling again didn't quite sit right with me, because they've just all been captured. So when this happened, everybody else scattered, and the orcs just went, right boys, it's our world again now, and started. Maybe I needed a scene of them all being rescued by Adar or something like that to kind of, and then him issuing a command to go and hunt down how many that they could find and get them out of our land or something like that. Would have worked. Again, it just stuck in the back of my head. So there was a few issues I had with the way that was put together. I really enjoyed the Harfoots. I thought that was my favourite part of this week. I thought there was that and the Azad Doom stuff.
Is that because they sound like you?
Well, they don't really. I mean, there's one that sounds most like me, the dwarf at this point.
That's true. So, very, very true.
And it's one thing, one of the criticisms of this show has been that they're putting on these really horrible Irish accents for the hobbits, and that they're then intimating that the Irish people are poor and walking about, and that the sophisticated people have proper English accents, and as if they're trying to allegory go back to, the whole UK versus Ireland thing. I don't see that. I think they're just trying to give them really common accents, and they don't all have Irish accents. I mean, Lenny Henry's accent is not Irish whatsoever. It's more like, it's not his own accent, but he's very good at accents, actually, Lenny Henry. It's one of the things he's good at, and it's kind of more a kind of Southern English kind of, accent he's putting on almost. It's not Irish whatsoever. But yeah, anyway, really enjoyed the kind of Harfoot scenes, although I've got a lot of questions, but despite me having a lot of questions, I've not got lore concerns. I just want to know what happens next in that story, if that makes sense. Right. So I'm still excited. The Khazad-dûm stuff was excellent, as always. However, I had two very specific issues with that. which some of it was lower, some of it was just the way it was put together, which I'll get into more in spoilers. And then a couple issues that annoyed me again that I need to talk about in spoilers in the Southlands section. So I just can't go into it in too much detail because it would get too specific. So so for me overall, this is my least favourite episode of season 1 so far. I actually graded it a C+.
Wow, we've never been that far.
We've never been. I know that's when you gave your grade. I thought we are so far apart this week. It's unreal. So maybe am I being too harsh? I don't know. I guess that'll come out in I guess once we get into the specifics, we'll from each other's point of view, we'll see where we kind of land on that. But that was kind of my thoughts going in anyway. I felt like episode 6 and episode 8 existed, and they didn't know what to do with episode 7, so it was, let's write an episode which gets us from point A to point B to where we need to be to do that, and they just did it without necessarily trying to make it make sense. And I'm definitely talking about the Southlands stuff there.
And I'll say this, it definitely felt choppy. I think I said that, and people who hear Cam and I kind of rag on previous episode, that was like our biggest complaint, was just like the distance and the scale of the Southlands. What was how far from the tower was the original village they all started in versus the one that we saw was attacked a distance away? How were the orcs so disparate but then so organized? Like that, those were a lot of our complaints for last episode.
Notice is they change the numbers depending on what they want for the scene, rather than like they start with a bigger number and then everything should get whittled down a little bit. They seem to, there's less people when they need it to be, and there's more people when they need it to be. It doesn't, there's little things like that. It can be fixed, absolutely. They're not severe, horrible things.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say about the Numenorians and the Southlanders getting separated in that volcanic explosion, that actually made sense to me. If you think of a volcanic explosion in this sense as a weapon, as an incoming artillery barrage, so to speak, you, depending on where you are, you're going to pick a direction and a distance, and your leadership is going to call this out. If you're on patrol, if you're in an encampment that's got set rallying points, you're going to go to the nearest one. But however, the fog of war, once shit starts exploding around you, increases, and your distance and direction ability to judge all that could become way off. And then you add into human panic, because a lot of these are not soldiers, and even those that are, some of this is their first time ever fighting. So I could see them literally scattering, trying to get away from fire and whatnot, and that would explain things like Galadriel being so further out. Some groups go ahead and moving, like they know where the big rally point is, the camp. They know that everyone has to eventually make it there. So survivors that are still in their kind of panic, you'll have people heading to that at different times. The soldiers have had no time at this point to inform the civilians. Now, any they find, they would tell the same thing to. I understand that. You see soldiers with the civilians. I don't remember seeing just civilians. They figured out a way to keep an elf or
no, but it kind of annoyed me, like when eventually everybody meets up, right? And there's only 2 groups will follow to get there, and then everybody else is just kind of there anyway, and pick up from there.
It's a bit wonky, but like I was saying, it wasn't as
maybe
wonky to me. I could
10
see them.
minutes just of little things here and there to show different, quick cuts to.
Everyone just running in panic, and absolutely. I could have really appreciated something like that. I would have loved more panic in the beginning, but
there was also, to me, too many fake out deaths in this episode, right? So there's certain characters they allude could be dead only for them to show up, and they do it just 1 or 2 too many times to me, to make it loses its dramatic effect after a while.
It does.
And there's one character that they haven't told the fate of yet, but they also fake one character's death. But everybody in the audience, unless you are a complete casual, and you've never watched Lord of the Rings before, you know that one character that I'm alluding to that is dead must be alive because he has such a prominent role in the future lore.
And we're not allowed to do multiverses here, so they can't break what is coming.
There's certain characters' names who are familiar right away to anybody who even just watched the Lord of the Rings once would probably say, "Oh, that's that guy," And this was one of those people before we get any spoilers. So, overall, just it was more the filmmaking I had an issue with, like almost like the script. No, because filmmaking's wrong. Because I don't think there's any issue with the direction, the score, the visuals here. Apart from a couple of things which I'll point out.
Fire.
Yeah, I'll get to that. But I didn't think the script was particularly that well blocked together and where everybody needs to be and what the purpose of this kind of journey was. I guess that's as much as we can say before we go into spoilers.
Well, let's go ahead and do that. Let's get into the spoiler chat. Let's stick with the stick with the Southlands.
Stick with the Southlands.
Oh,
right. Okay. So, so the character death that we're talking about before was Isildur. So there's a building collapses on Isildur, and Isildur's too important a character to die, so we all know he's not dead. So it kind of just, I'm not saying that they couldn't have done that with Obi-Wan Kenobi in the prequels, but it's got the same thing, they're going to get out. So to have a tease almost over an episode, like, I wonder if Isildur's going to be okay. No one's thinking that. No one is.
Kind of like wondering, oh my God, who's going to win in this fight between Vader and Kenobi? Set between episodes 3 and 4.
Well, exactly. There's only one way it can go. That's true. But still, that was still an interesting fight, I feel. But no, I thought that was okay. At least the second one. There's something that loses as part of the drama for me in that. Again, Theo and Galadriel's story is okay. I like that we're following them, but it just seemed convenient that let's have a scene with Galadriel and Theo be together because that's what we want. So we'll have them wake up next to each other in terms of the fog, and the mother won't be there. And then the fake out, I wonder if my mum's dead. Of course she's not dead. Do you know what I mean? If you've not seen her die on screen, there's no way they're going to take a main character like that and say,
no.
Theo, she died just somewhere off screen. Here's her dead body. Bye-bye, Bronwyn. Hello, Theo. You don't do that. So there was no drama there for me. And the reveal of, it's not really his mum and his mum's really behind him. I thought, big, fucking great. That was so obvious. And then I guess my last major issue, and this one really did annoy me, is the very final scene of the episode, which is the Southlands and the orcs and Waldreg, who seems to be the only human left in the orc side at the moment. They can all say to Adar, this is your place now. We can finally live here. What are we going to call it? And then Adar looks into the distance.
And instead of giving
instead of saying anything,
they put
the
it.
sign
that
up
was pretty
saying
dumb.
Southlands, and then they cross it
Burn
out
it.
and
Burn
put
it to
Mordor.
Mordor.
That
He
was
should've-
awful. That was like a PowerPoint presentation.
I'll give you that.
Kyle.
That was pretty bad.
That's like filmmaking 101. You do not do that.
They could have even ADR'd it. Even if they hadn't recorded it, as he's looking up, as he's looking up into the smoke, you could have heard him say, "It shall be called Mordor." Anything. That was pretty freaking
We don't
awful.
have any specifics about where the name Mordor come from. I would have preferred it if Sauron had named it because it's
okay, cool.
I
can see that too.
But I'm not against the fact that Adar named it and it was already called Mordor before Sauron gets there. So I'm okay with that. But he should have at least said it. Don't do that because at this point it feels like you're catering to the lowest common denominator in terms of there'll be some really stupid people out there who have watched this and don't realise this is Mordor yet. We better make it very clear to them they've just watched the formation of Mordor.
I would say we shouldn't say everyone is stupid that didn't realize it, but that they are they're missing the very, very obvious.
I mean,
there's a lot of casual people that don't catch things like that. I even mistook it at first. By the time you would have gotten to the volcano, not even the volcano erupting, just the mountain being over
I'm not saying,
there, I would have gotten.
When we talked about it in episode 1 and 2, and I told you that's Mordor, I didn't expect you to get that at that point, right?
Yeah. But by
this point,
but
by the
now
end of
you should have, even before it explodes. Yes.
Showing you the map a few times, you know.
Yes.
They've made it, I think, fundamentally clear.
It should be very, very clear.
The only thing I can think is that they have done some test audiences and people didn't understand it, and they've added that in. That's the only thing that makes sense to me, because if that was the original plan, I just don't get it. That's to me is silly. You know, you have to treat, if people don't get it, too bad. They have to look it up, work it out, then don't cater to them.
The Hollywood does not think highly of their audience, and Sony is one of the most frustrating examples of this, where they will explain everything. Look at the Amazing Spider-Man 2, where the technology explains this will blow up if you don't handle it safely. This Venom stuff does this technology was designed to do, and you're like, why is this computer telling me the plot? Like, God, Sony, I'm not stupid. All you would have had to do is show the freaking fluid being volatile and then blowing up as it fell out the back of a truck, and then now I'm very well aware that it's a dangerous fluid. So yeah, I get that. It's frustrating.
If you dumb down something too much, you lose some of the epicness of it by doing that. And I guess for it to be the final thing that happens in the episode, it left me on a really sour note for this episode, and perhaps that's where, you know, I'm coming in for work on a Friday night, I'm watching the episode, and then I'm writing my review as soon as I've finished watching the episode, right? And it's like, that's what's sticking in my head at that point, you know, so possibly that's affected my grade, because I just thought that was like kiddie stuff, you know, almost. It just felt so out of place to me and didn't work for me whatsoever.
Yeah, that ending was that was rough. That was rough.
Where are we going next? What do you want to talk about next?
I just want to chat about the Galadriel and Theo stuff for a moment. Because like I said, the lines she's delivering as he's, you know, saying, you know, I want to go out on this. I want to go for this revenge. I want to, you know, take the fight to the bad guys. And oh my goodness, it's a question you would be surprised how. It's not as often as some would think, but it's more often than many others. And as a matter of fact, it happened to me again last night. But have you ever shot guns, or have you ever shot at someone? Have you ever killed anyone? That type of morbid curiosity from people. I really appreciated the line of hold on, I typed it in because guys, I have brain injury.
I think he asked
it darkens the heart to. Yeah, he complimented, good, you killed some orcs, that's great. And she says not to you know, be happy about that. It darkens the heart to call dark deeds good. And she goes on to talk about how wars fought both within and without a person. There's the battle within to control that darkness, something she's having trouble with, and then there's the battle on the outside that is, you know, actually causing the darkness, so to speak. And one of the best parts of that whole thing is when Theo asks, so why be a soldier? And when he asks that, it's one of those questions that I always encourage my own soldiers to look at. And everyone joins originally for something different, college money to get paid off, to get a steady paycheck for the next 4 years while you figure out the rest of your life, because your dad and your granddad served, whatever the case may be, that gets you through the recruiter's door is completely different than the reason why you stay, especially those that then re-enlist. And one of the reasons that I continued to serve was because I hope someone else doesn't have to. Like, this is something that needs to be done. Someone has to fill this seat, and so long as it's my generation's turn up, I'm going to step in, do my part, in hopes that my son won't have to. The idea of the U.S. military is to you go back to Theodore Roosevelt, speak softly, carry a big stick. We're supposed to have the biggest damn stick there is to try to keep anyone else from using their sticks. And if my service can do that, then I hope that means someone else doesn't have to go through those things. And for him to question that's an important thing. That's why she says we might make a soldier out of you yet. And I thought that was just great. And I might be on the opposite of you. You might be a little too harsh on some things, not the Mordor thing. That's absolutely awful. And I might not be harsh enough because of this. I really did appreciate that. And I hope others might take that and put that scene into context and get something out of it as well. So
yeah, no, I definitely get that. And what do you think where do you think Theo's arc's going? Because this is a made-up character, right? So this is not someone that, unless it's someone that ends up with a different name. But right now we can't, say Theo is someone from within the Legendarium at all. So where do you see his arc going, do you think? Dark path or heroic path?
I think we might see, since he's a young kid, you think one of two things. He's either the excuse me. With him being a kid, it's pretty much I think they've written him to carry for a couple of seasons, if not the series. Well, I mean, you can't, depending on how long, at least for the next season as well. I would hope that they don't just do the double cross where he's already gone bad and come back good, and then he's going to go bad and then redeem one more time. I really don't know which way he will go. But I'm actually fine either way. I could see him falling further and further away as maybe Galadriel starts to, get better, so to speak. But I could also see him sticking with the light side and joining the cause. I don't know. I really am open to either. Yes, what about you? What do you
I don't
see
know.
feel?
Originally, I thought he was going to go down a dark path. I thought we could be looking at maybe one of the future Nazgul or something.
Yeah.
And, someone
and that could still happen.
That could still happen because he could still accept a gift of a ring at some point when he's older, and if he's in charge of people at that point. Although they were given to great kings of men, and he's not a great king of men at the moment. So his prominence, his stature would have to change dramatically for Sauron to think about giving him a ring. But that'll turn anyone bad ultimately. Whether they had kind of good intentions to begin with, if they're wearing the ring, especially while Sauron's got one on, and then they're basically at his will. So, there's lots of things that could happen with it. But I've really, at this point, because of the way that they kind of changed his arc a little bit over the last couple of episodes, I'm not sure at all now. I'm just completely drawing a blank as to where that's going, which is not a bad place to be.
No.
At the end of season 1, he's had a little bit of an arc so far, but we've still got a lot to learn about his character going forward, I guess.
Yeah. I guess let's talk Khazad-dûm, huh? That was unfortunate. We had a crash, but we're back up and running. We'll get into talking Elrond and Durin. Talk about a lot of drama, a lot of character drama. It almost makes you, after hearing that Amazon pitched like spin-offs, side stories, it almost makes you wish we got an Adventures of Elrond and Durin show. Like, their interactions are just so great. I love the digs at each other. I love the constant camaraderie. I really do. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's meant to call back, even though this would be calling forward, so to speak, to Legolas and crap, I'm forgetting his dwarf friend, the Lord of the Rings dwarf's name at the moment.
Gimli.
Gimli, thank you. I kept wanting to say Gimbal, and I'm like, no, it's not freaking Gimbal. That's a piece of equipment.
I mean, there is that kind of, it's not a usual thing. The elves and dwarfs are very different. They're very different. So
I know focusing on it the way they are here is definitely to call back to that in a different way, though, and I like it. I really dug it.
But it's also because in the lore, the elves of Linden and the dwarfs of Moria had the closest relationship of any dwarfs and elves history at that point, because in the first age there were some close relationships, but they kind of always turned sour in some sort of way. Bad things kind of happened. A lot of that was Morgoth's doing, but until the ring situation, in the lore, they were very friendly, and that's why they have the dwarves, the doors of Durin that you see in Lord of the Rings. That have the elvish writing on the outside that shine moonlight, and all you have to do is say the elvish word for friend to enter. That's where that comes from, because they were so friendly. They made a new door that any elves could pass that could read the sign in their own language and say, "Oh, friend." Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, you're right.
The whole argument with the dad, of course, goes into things that lead into that third age and stuff you hear about the dwarves as well. But it's fun to see it. Both of us are fathers to sons, and both of us happen to be sons of generally someone that was at least a father figure at some point, good or bad. You can get into the dynamic between fathers and sons from both points of view, so to speak, and I really enjoyed that. And I mean, we've all had either our children already tell us that we're old fogies, or we've told our parental figures that they're old fogies. And
I mean, especially by the time you get to this, is like age-wise, this is like you and your dad, or me and my dad, rather than me and my son, who's at the teenage years, and you think, you don't know what you're doing at this stage, and they think they know everything. But we're adults with our own kids, and so is Durin at this point, and his father is getting a little bit too old, and yet there's an implicit part of it that we understand that there really is wisdom in what he's saying, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can see it from both sides.
Exactly, and bravo to them for being able to do that. It sucks that the writing hasn't been as even for all the characters as it has for these two, and but I did enjoy it, and I did think for a moment that they were going to reveal some weird glow in his wife's eye or something to hint that there was some dark power pushing her to be like, this is our Mithril and stuff like that. Maybe there will be, but it felt like a very, very intense thing. But then I was like, dwarves are known for their kind of greed.
They're a bit greedy,
and suspiciousness of others. So
and
I don't think there's
old,
anything
so I think
there.
it's more just she thinks, well, eventually he's going to be gone, and then you can do what you want. So be patient, And given the times, this is one of the things about the time crunch, because really, if we relax that a little bit, there would be plenty of time just to say, well, let's explore it again. So, he would just say to everyone, come back in 50 years, my dad will be dead by then, we'll do it at that point. And from an elf, that would be like, that's just like next
50?
week, no worries.
I mean, that's kind of close.
We've
got about
for 50 years,
we've got about 150 left, 50, okay.
And dwarves are pretty, they don't live as long as, obviously they're not immortal, they do die, but they live a lot longer than the average human, maybe outside the Numenorians.
Non-Numenorian human.
Yeah, so that's nothing to them. But anyway, no, I can't. I mean, I agree with you. I thought I really enjoy it. I've always enjoyed the character Doom scenes, the stuff with Elrond and Durin and his dad and Disa. They're all really well sort of drawn characters that really have quite complex relationships. And I think what I love is that we're exploring two races at the same time with them all the time, you know, whereas with other stories it's about elves and humans. This is elves and dwarfs. We've not really seen men and dwarfs interact, but that maybe come in the future, you know, and it's there's that element to it. My only I had two issues with the Khazad Doom stuff. One of them is that they seem to be now saying that the Mithril really does fix the blight in the leaf by showing that when they sat the leaf next to it. I don't like that so much, because I liked it better when it was a potential deception of Sauron's. That I had theorised that this was a deception of Sauron's, and that he may be taking a tail,
mind for the rings, and
rather than being a true story, and that there really was a Silmaril there that this Balrog and an elf sat over. I like that story being hard fact. I liked it as being a legend that could be true, that somebody could have spun. And when you set the Mithril next to it and you see that it helps, that kind of makes Mithril again this magical object. And I talked about this when they brought the story up previously, and I said for me, it's a hard magic versus soft magic system, right? Tolkien didn't have a hard magic system, and that's what makes a lot of his works mysterious. It's why we're still discussing it 70 years later. You know, it's because there is no definitive answer. You know, how did this happen? Just, who knows? Magic, ancient arts that we no longer know anymore. You know, there's that kind of element in Tolkien's work, and this feels like they're kind of trying to explain how the magic of the rings will actually work once they do it. And I'm just not that keen on that being so explicitly put across. So I hope I'm wrong and it ends up being a deception, but if it is a deception, why do the thing with the Mithril and the leaf? I don't know. And why did that not happen when Elrond had both of them in either pocket?
Yeah.
You know, like he literally had the both of them on him at some point. He takes them out his pocket, you know. Why did they just have to be sitting there together at that point?
Maybe, and this is just the RPG player in me. Maybe it's a concentration thing. Like, yeah, sure, this one piece of mithril out there wouldn't do too much, but there in the mountain, it does more. Like that. I don't know, and I don't know how deep Durin's thing. I'm reaching, but it is wonky, and it's not the only wonky thing in this series or episode.
No, and that's what worries me when you add all of these things up together. Sometimes when there's little things, you know them in the episode where they come out
by 1,000 paper cuts,
but they can build up and have an effect altogether later on, and it just felt like that this week for me. The Balrog, I wasn't a fan of either.
I don't know what that meant. Like it was weird.
Right, so
I'll give my grade. I'll drop it down a bit. You've convinced me. I'll give it a B+. I'll take the A- away. I said even at the beginning, I felt like I was potentially being biased because of what I thought worked really, really well. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of little mistakes in here. So yeah, I'll go B+.
I'll see if I can lower you down further once I get to the rest. Right, so the Balrog, right? So let's talk about the lore of the Balrog, right? So the lore of the Balrog is that the dwarves did mine Moria, and they did mine lots of mithril, and they became very rich from it, but they just get too greedy and they dug too deep, and eventually they came across Durin's Bane, which was a sleeping Balrog that had been sitting there for, let's say, well, if we go by the book lore, by this point, 5,000 or 6,000 years it's been lying sleeping, right? It won't quite work out like that because of the time crunch in the show. And we see this leaf falling down, right? And I kind of knew it was coming, and that was the horrifying thing for me, because we'd seen a shot of the Balrog in the trailer.
Oh, I haven't watched those.
I was hoping that the trailer was showing as a flashback to the first stage, like Galadriel had a bad dream and she saw one, because she would have faced Balrogs in the first stage. There was about 7 or 8 of them at least, and they went out and fought against the elves. So that fight we saw like Finrod in, for example, at the start, where, you know, in that little flashback, there would have been Balrogs involved in that, you know. So, my issue was that less is more for me, right? And that they went for the money shot too soon of showing the Balrog. So what would have worked for me is that we see that falling down and it lands on something and just fizzles. And then you see, like, I don't know, like a bit of movement and some smoke rising. So, you know,
or just like fire starting to light up the cavern. Even not even seeing the shape.
Just see maybe a almost like there's something there, but we don't know what it is. That's nice. That's we're going to get this at some point. You know, are they going to actually go for the waking of the Balrog within this show? I think they are, because it's awake. You know, that's the thing. If it's awake, why is it just going? It's just going to sit there till they dig the hole again and get even deeper. You know. It's awake, it's probably going to go, all right, it's time to go and like kill some shit, because it's
time
basically
time to go make the donuts.
And
that's an
you know,
American
there
joke.
really
I don't know if you would get that.
I mean, outside of the Stranger, I know they can't put the Stranger and the Balrog together, really. But outside of the Stranger and Sauron, there really isn't anyone in this age that's able to match that Balrog. Even Galadriel, I would say. No, because Glorfindel was, I think, a step above Galadriel, and Glorfindel took down a Balrog, but he died in the process, you know, and it's very few times that's happened, you know, that an elf could beat a Balrog. So for me, it's as much of a threat as almost Sauron is at this point, to not in terms of plans and stuff like that, but to anyone in the close vicinity. And I don't think they're going to get to that till that'd be something that they maybe do at the end of the show or something like that. Like they have them, because they're going to have to get the mithril out at some point. You know, they have to have enough to make that chainmail for the Bilbo wears and the Hobbit and stuff like that, you know. And they have to have enough to make the rings. So we know they're going to mine again. So they can't find the Balrog right away. And that, if they're all working in that same chamber, that doesn't make sense to me. It would have been much, again, it's just less is more. Well, they went for the money shot. Like the movie,
I'll give you that 100.
Time for that, yeah.
I'll give you that 100% that they could have, you know, avoided the shot. However, they did make a point to show that the leaf travels down another crevice, not just down, but it goes through an additional crevice into a different chamber. So I could see them finding that initial chamber, being there for a minute, and it's still taking some time to meet the Balrog, but I don't know.
I get what you're saying, but again, if it's the difference between it being awake and sleeping for me, I just think
absolutely.
You know, again, less is more. If you know, and again, it's like don't speak to the lowest common denominator. Oh yeah, you know, for everybody that knows, this is the same mine that you saw in Lord of the Rings with the more. This is that same guy that Gandalf fights. This is the one that he actually kills. You don't need to telegraph that. I don't think. You know, I just don't think House of the Dragon would do that. And people know the lore of House of the Dragon much less than what they do the Tolkien lore, and yet here we're signposting everything and making it very, very easy for people to follow. And for somebody that does know it all like me, it removes the subtlety from it a little bit.
I can completely respect the point of view. I do think it was good that they showed that it went through at least one additional crevice into a different chamber, though, because you're right on how, again, that would play with the physical locations of things and how distance and stuff plays into this show, and how annoying that's been. Yeah, I'll solidly drop it to a B+. I'm not dropping it any further than that, though, Cam. Right. It's got good stuff in it. Damn it.
You ready for me to go to my next negative?
Oh, you got more? Okay. What's up? Jesus.
So, two things. One you've already mentioned, and you kind of agree with me on this, was the Halbrand injury, which goes back to the Southlands thing. Yeah, so he's lying there, he's injured. You know, they say that it's so bad that they need elvish medicine, which is a Lord of the Rings trope. We've seen used before. Oh, this one is so bad. Like, look at this. I'm
glad I complained about this first.
yeah, you were right to. This is like almost like Frodo when he gets stabbed by the Morgul blade in the first Lord of the Rings film, and he needs elvish medicine. So, you know, he's riding the back of your horse and he's sick and all that, and you really felt the kind of desperation of it. But Halbrand just gets out his tent, blood-soaked shirt, gets on his horse and trots away. How serious is that really?
Off.
If he can do that, if they'd strapped him up, shoved him in the back of
when she was like, "Can he ride?" I'm like, "That's what they're gonna do. They're gonna flop him over the back or something, or put him in a cart.
Yeah, she has to take away. That again,
that's what I
those
thought.
Things works for me, you know. And
him getting out and riding the horse was stupid.
Clearly, either going to arrive at wherever they're going next week, and then he's going to get fixed very quickly. Yes. Because they just don't want him. It was just an excuse to me again to get Halbrand, who's just been announced king, and then they're all like, "Goodbye, king."
It was to do the fake out death thing again, like you said.
And really what they want is they want to keep that Halbrand and Galadriel thing going, and it didn't make sense for him to suddenly leave the people that have just crowned him king and just ride away with Galadriel, but they need that for the next episode.
Hold on, let me fix it for you, Amazon. I fix a lot of things for Sony and these days Marvel in general, but let me fix this for you, Amazon. Halbrand's not mortally wounded. You don't try to do a fake out thing, and he needs to go with Galadriel to where she's going, and it's to gather the support from her additional allies, like they have Numenor, where they got the queen on their thing, so he's gonna go with her, do that thing. The elves will be ready when Numenor returns, and he looks at Bronwyn and says, "You are in charge while I'm gone. You led my people while I was getting the Numenorians. I'm gonna go get some freaking elf support, and you run the show while I'm in my thing." But that would be better than what we got, and you would get him on the road to where he's going now. I mean, yeah.
Maybe they were trying to explain why he'd just been out the rest of the episode lying in a bed.
Like I said, fog of war, guys. Everyone was running in different directions. Maybe he's the one that gathered a bunch of the civilians.
That would be my question. Remember, we've talked about that, because why would Sauron be lying with a wound and
that's very true.
Getting healed? You know, he would heal much faster than a human, because he's kind of making the body out of thin air himself. But the power of his own mind makes that body out of nothing, you know. So he could heal himself. They can lose their bodies and have to go into a spirit form. But again, that would be easier, and then just make a new body after a while. Maybe it takes some strength to make a new body. But again, I'm just not buying the whole Halbrand and Sauron thing at all. Okay, my last point is Galadriel's hubby, Celeborn. So I'm hearing for you in the talks, which I appreciated all the talks, and I don't even have an issue with how this is put across. What I have an issue with is, what the hell are they doing here, right, in terms of Celeborn? So Celeborn is clearly not dead, right? Again, they're not allowed to change the fates of people, like that would end up in Lord of the Rings. And of course, if you watch Lord of the Rings, you know that when Galadriel comes out for the first time, her husband Celeborn is standing right next to her and is the other Lord of Loria. So Celeborn's clearly not dead, but it was kind of like, I had a husband as well. He rode out to war some time ago, and he just fucked off. He ghosted me and never come back. That kind of feels like what they're saying. Now, maybe they've got a reason for this, and it's going to come back later on. We're going to go, oh, right, okay, that worked. But at the moment, I'm kind of like, what? Where are you actually going with this at the moment? It kind of doesn't make any sense to me. Where could Celeborn be that Galadriel would not at this point know he was still alive? Why would he not return to her, at least just to say, by the way, I'm safe? We've talked about this previously. Right back at the start, we talked about how elf couples will spend sometimes hundreds of years apart, because to them, that's nothing. You know, they have the entire age of the world to live together. It's basically, it's a genuine lifetime commitment, eternity, if you like. So spending a couple of 100 years away from each other, probably just good marriage guidance, to be honest. But, you know, it doesn't seem to be that. It doesn't seem to be that there's a reason, and she knows where he is. It seems to be she just doesn't know his fate, and she almost thinks he's dead at this point, which is it's just a little bit strange. I'm not saying I hate it yet, but it concerns me, again, with what they're doing with the lore going forward, because I just can't see the point of it.
Well, and like I said, you would... I don't have the burden of the lore like you do, so there's going to be times where...
We're going to look at things differently.
Yeah, exactly. Which is what makes the show much like our Dragon Reviewed, which does the Wheel of Time. Is Christine and I haven't read the books.
There's a new trailer for season 2 out for that, but it's very minimal. Yeah, it's very minimal. It's like it shows you. It just came out yesterday. We were recording this Saturday. It came out yesterday. So if you're a fantasy fan, you might like Wheel of Time as well. But yeah, there was a new trailer come out, but it was like it showed you all of season 1 in like the space of 30 seconds, look really fast forward, and then they show you a few snippets of things that are happening in season 2.
A real teaser.
Yeah, definitely a teaser before we get the kind of the real trailer or whatever. I don't know when that will come, but worth taking a look at anyway for yourself.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for it overall. The thing is like this series I think had a stronger start than Wheel of Time did.
Yes.
And while this has gotten me in a better mood than the previous 2 weeks, and again, guys, episode 6, Cam and I's biggest issues with that are technical things, and the action. While sure, we were happy to get some action, it wasn't quite up to snuff.
We didn't feel it was as interesting as it could be and unique.
No, and it could have done
just a bit
more.
Generic.
And then it was choppy
and just for being there. It's
exactly
how it's put together.
I do want to say before we close up, thanks to everyone that's been watching this and joining us in the comments. I know, and I cannot, you guys hear, I have a speech issue anyways, but Camilo, Andres, and I'm not going to try to go through the next parts of the names there on YouTube in the comment section. Appreciate you sharing your knowledge of the lore in there.
There's a guy that corrected me in a couple of points, and you were absolutely right.
There you go. Skipski 100, you mentioned you were number 600 for subscribing. Thank you very, very much for that. Novus Renaissance, you said, hey, we got a good video, even though you're not really into what they're doing here, and you feel that Tolkien's works are definitely being roughed up to say the least. Hey, we appreciate all the comments and engagement like that. We really do. The context helps, and like you just heard Cam, if he's got something wrong or missing,
we're
more than happy to be called out on it.
I'm pretty knowledgeable about the lore. In fact, I'm kind of skim reading the Silmarillion again at the moment, just because it piqued my interest. But that I talk to people online, and sometimes I'll think, oh, this is the answer to a question, and then someone will say, actually, quote token letter 316, and I'm like, okay, your knowledge is just beyond mine. I'm going to sit back and listen to what you say at the moment, and just take it in, which is great.
So keep us honest. I appreciate it, and I get a lot of interaction on the anime videos. So if you're into anime, check out Anime-Versal Reviews and AVR Squared here. But it's nice to get this type of interaction on our other shows. And you ready to close up, Cam? Because I can segue right into talking about all of the other shows that are available. Oh, that was an awful segue because I don't have the window.
Epic fail.
Yep. There we go. All right, guys. There now you can see all the other great shows. It's been a day of technical issues, and I'm supposed to have 3 more videos today. I don't know if that'll.
Which ones are you recording?
We've got AVR and AVR Squared for Spy Family episode 14. Yes, episode 14 because it's the second episode of part 2, core 2, so it's all part of season 1, episode 14, Spy Family. And then Nick and I are supposed to record our review for Werewolf by Night on Marvel Multiverse.
Were you doing that as a separate one from the She-Hulk episode?
Yeah. because you guys seem to like hearing Nick and I disagree about She-Hulk. He loves it. I freaking hate it. So you guys can see all of that. Daily Cup of Genre. We've got the Cantina doing Andor as well here on the GenreVerse Podcast YouTube channel. Yep, he is indeed on the Cantina. Co-founder of the Cantina with me. All of the things that aren't reaction videos go up in audio format on your favorite podcast apps like Spotify and Apple and Google, Stitcher, all of those good things. The website lrmonline.com, you can get look there so there I was, holy crap, there I am. You can get celebrity interviews, written reviews, more of me and the others here on the GenreVerse Podcast Network and YouTube channel, news, leaks, rumors, all of that in written format at lrmonline.com. The LRM Online YouTube channel also hosts all of our wonderful celebrity interviews, usually done by Gig and Nancy. Thanks to them for all of their hard work over there. That's it, Cam. I'm done. I'm set. You good?
Yeah. It's
you tell people where they can find you or something like that?
Yeah, no? I mean, my details are on screen, so you can contact me on Twitter. I've occasionally been just posting the odd 1-word or 3-word reviews of things recently on Twitter, just for the sake of it. Why not? My 1-word of review of this episode was meh, as kind of Kel said at the start. But yeah, you can get me there, and you can find me on lrmonline.com, where you'll find all the written reviews. So, like, although I'm on the Cantina with Kyle and doing reviews at the Rings, I've also got written reviews of all these shows up, and House of the Dragon, and most other big shows that are out at the moment. I'm doing all them.
There you go. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.